So this project consists of a friend of mine who has and collects these Gershner toolboxes. It needs some repair on the handle. I'll have to glue down this cardboard to the steel, and then I need to fix this leather piece and figure out how to make it all look nice. Now this one does not have felt here. A lot of times they do. No, nothing wrong with it. There's many different styles. This one has been refinished by someone else. And then all of these drawers where he put his tools. And as you can see, it's still pale white on the bottom, and that is because it had felt to keep the tools from moving around. So I have lots of felt to put in when it arrives. He's off getting it today. So I think what I'm going to do is I have a little piece of wood that unfortunately is peeled off from there. There's a groove there. Oh, I know what the groove's for. The groove is after you open it, so you can drop it down and slide it in here. That keeps it in place. However, somebody has put a nail as the spline, and that nail is creating issues. So I wonder if there was a way I can fix that from happening without harming the value of the chest. Fortunately, just gluing this in isn't going to do anything other than fix it until somebody puts it in there. I will do that in the meantime. What I'd like to make is a little thin, very thin U-channel to put in this here of some metal. Don't know if I have anything that thin that will protect this from that abuse. It would be nice to have all the tools right next to you where you need them, but there'd be no room for me if I moved all the tools next to me. So that should hide that for the time being. So yeah, this groove is worn out. I'm going to take off the handle, which is held on by screws. The screws are old, and it's important to have a screwdriver the exact width of the screw, especially in old screws, because you will mess that flathead up in a heartbeat and you can't fix that. Come on. With the old screwdriver, see, I can take them to the grinder if I have to, because I have great new screwdrivers, but after years these slots get banged on, and consequently I am going to thin this down a little bit. Consequently, when you bang on the top of a flathead screw, the top folds in. There we go. So it's nice to have old cheap screwdrivers around that you can do that with and not ruin a quality one for any other kind of mechanical work. I keep all my old ones that get wore out, and I grind points on them to make picks out of them. I do all kinds of things to them. All right. Okay, when you lift it, it pulls that up, bends that metal. No matter what, even when it's attached to the D-rings here. So I need to glue that cardboard to the metal. And I think good old-fashioned or good old modern Gorilla Glue should suit me fine there, because it will glue cardboard to metal, glass to glass, you name it. Now in this instance I won't put any water on it because I don't want it to foam and fill any voids. These minis are the best because I don't use Gorilla Glue fast enough. And consequently, I throw some expensive glue away, in my opinion. All right. Gotta open that up. Now this should hold this just fine. Thankfully it has metal in there, so that keeps the leather from just ripping out here at the corners where the cardboard goes over the leather. Now when I do have that piece of leather, I've already picked it up. Oh, there it is. So I will have to use a different kind of adhesive on that flexes. Otherwise, this will just pop right back off in no time, I think. Although it's flexible in itself. So I think I can use Gorilla Glue. Again, it glues everything. Wish I had hide glue, but I don't. That would be the ultimate thing to use on this. I just wish I could make it pretty. That's just not going to hold. Do you think that's going to hold? Can't use tape because tape would stick it. I got some cellophane. This is that stretchy stuff, I think. Well, let's see if that'll work. It's a nice clamp. Now, I don't know if I want to use one of these. It's squished too hard. Hey, I know what to do. Looky there. Okay. So the next step for this box is when you have Gershner toolboxes. This may not be a Gershner, but they have felt in the bottom of all the drawers. So I need 6 7/8, which is an 1/8 inch big, and I should be able to shrink the felt down as I glue it into the drawers. I normally have my wallpaper table, and I can cut through all this without harming my table, but I don't know how many of those I'm going to need. So I will start with that. Oh yeah, that's going to work great. So as you can see, luckily I have great experience after 28 years of hanging wallpaper that I'm going to make it look a little easier than it is. I'm going to use a square. Seam in the table I forgot about. So let's move there. Again, I need a little extra so I can trim it. So if there's a little booger or anything I don't like, I can trim it off. And perfect. Got all 3 large drawers, 1, 2, 3, out of 1 piece. And I need 5. This felt keeps the tools from banging around and sliding around when you're, because this is a portable box. Now most guys put it on their workbench at work, and at night they take it home, so you don't want your tools a mess every morning. Take you too long to sort it out and lose time. Okay. Now it's pretty straightforward. I have a adhesive that will not damage the box for the future and leaves the fabric able to be removed. Stays tacky long enough that I can put the fabric where it belongs. The glue only has to be within 1/8 of an inch of the edge. Closer is better, but chances are pretty good it won't curl up with that small amount of unglued section. Okay, let's take my first one. I'm just gonna drop that corner in. The back edge, you would think the front edge would be more important, but surprisingly, in my opinion, when you open a drawer, you look towards the back. So if that line's perfect, then no one's going to pay much more attention. Where's my blade? To the rest. So now I'll just secure it. Smooth out any wrinkles. There's drawer number 1. Another one. It's one of those things where you think, gosh, that guy's making way too much money for how long it takes him to do it. But I think you have to remember that it didn't take me 5 minutes to learn how to do this with accuracy. It took, with wallpaper, it took 2 years before I really saw every kind of material that I was going to be working with, and there were still surprises after that. However, they were, trendy. One time I had to do almost like Kleenex on a wall, tissue paper like, and it had to be perfectly smooth. Whereas they have another technique where you do this tissue paper and you make it real wrinkled, and it gives that really cool leather look after they paint it. But this one she wanted perfect. And I did it. It was fun. Challenging. I think the hardest part on all that job was knowing the dilution. Everybody thinks you just wallpaper, grab the wallpaper and go, but every paper's different. Every paper takes a little different amount of dilution of the wallpaper paste to make it work for you instead of you working for it. And too much water would cause trouble too, so in your paste. But it definitely wasn't something where you just opened the bucket and started using it. It's like pre-pasted. It's another thing. So I don't know if anybody knows even what I'm talking about nowadays. I don't think anybody hardly uses wallpaper anymore. Oh, another thing about this I should mention is you don't want to stretch it into fit. You want it to fall into place. If you try to stretch it because you're cut too short, it's going to look great, and then it's going to dry, and it's going to shrink. It's going to be horrible. So, okay. There's no glue on my blade. Hopefully I'll get to do one of these boxes from scratch. They're usually pretty ugly, dirty from years in a shop environment, and greasy, black. And I try to save the original finish, clean it first, and then I try to reactivate the finish that's there. So it's not a refinish. This box I didn't do. It's not horrible. It just looks refinished. And I try to clean them, take all the surface grime off, reactivate the existing finish so it has the patina and color of what it looked like after use, but certainly not new. If I wanted a new one, I could go spend $1,000 and buy a new one. So that's the whole purpose of fixing up an old one so it still keeps its character. Done. Now the way these work is during the day after he'd have all this under here, and to get ready to go home, pull that out, pop this into the groove, take his key, no, I have it right. It doesn't want to go all the way in. There it goes. And that's it. I'll put the handle back on after I finish with it. Let's see how it's kind of dark and liney. Not my favorite. I would turn it browner and blend that in. So the wonderful grain shows through, but that's grease causing that grain to show that well. Okay, another one done.